So I just watched a video by the self-help guru Hamza, and he said something that I've heard a lot of self-help people, especially that target their content towards men, like to say, which is that freedom is kind of the ultimate expression of traditional masculinity, and that what men should aim for is to be free with their finances and be location independent, travel the world, date who they want, do what they want, spend their time exactly how they see fit, and that is like the ultimate attainment as a man. And I just truthfully don't think that that's accurate. I thought that for a long time, and I actually came here where I live to Thailand to try to pursue that dream and live freely, live cheaply, and really just be in full control of my time and location. And what I found in that is that it's not particularly masculine in like any traditional masculine sense. Because if anything, it's more on the side of what a lot of people would represent as like traditionally feminine, where it's more like I'm more frivolous and like I don't feel like I need to take on responsibilities because I can just cut and run at any point, move somewhere else. I don't need to invest deeply in friendships if I don't want to. I choose who I have to spend time with, who I owe anything to. Like it's about as far as you could get from like the traditional tribal or village life that traditional masculinity is kind of based upon. And like I think it evolved as like a good way of being in response to the like a more traditional tribal environment. So it's very odd to say that it's masculine when you compare like me working in Thailand on a laptop guy with, let's say, a medieval knight who his lord calls him to defend their country, and he has to go and risk his life even though he doesn't want to. And that knight, it's not, we think of a knight as being cool. There's like no one less free than a knight. Like he's like basically a slave to this lord. He has to go and fight, even if he doesn't care at all about this particular enemy. But who's more masculine, him or me? Because I work on my laptop and I can travel anywhere and spend my time freely, and so like date more people or work out in the gym. Let's take another example. And again, from the past, where people generally had to be extremely responsible because they could not move, they could not choose who they were around. Let's take like a Catholic priest in a village. Is it more masculine for that Catholic priest to chase his dream of being a bishop and moving up the hierarchy in the Catholic Church? Or is it more masculine for him to realize that if he moves up, the person that's going to take his place is not going to serve his village well? And so people in his village might go hungry or like not have the guidance that he alone kind of has the resources to give them. What's more masculine? Moving up towards greater power and greater freedom that would come with that status, or staying and being responsible to the people that he's serving? And I'm just saying, like, whether you believe in traditional masculinity or not, I think Hamza or anyone would agree that that is more like traditional masculinity than just being like a guy that can move wherever he wants and date beautiful women and like be rich. I mean, and it sounds like I'm just attacking those things. Those things are great, and I am like aiming at them. I think they're cool. I'm not gonna be a soldier or a Catholic priest or super like hyper masculine and like hyper restrictive in the sense that you're responsible to a unit or a village or whatever. But living this lifestyle, I've just seen it's not particularly masculine at all. And the people that live it are, if anything, more on the opposite end. Like they're not very generous. They don't like form deep bonds very easily. Or maybe they do form bonds, but they just break them off because like, oh, well, I'm leaving and I'm going to meet 30 new other people in this next location. So what does it really matter? Which leads to this weird kind of like fast forwarded social life where people kind of rush into friendships, but nothing much comes of it in the long run. Which is just to say that it's all kind of frivolous. It's not like anything resembling the traditional masculinity that someone like Hamza or these other self-help gurus advertise. So I think it's almost irresponsible to tell men or anyone that what they should aim for if they want to be a real man is like complete freedom. Just freedom for freedom's sake, unrestrained. You as a will, as an entity, get to make choices as you wish, because I think generally most people will not be particularly responsible or even human or even empathetic unless circumstances somewhat conspire to make them act that way. Like, if you don't owe anything to anyone, if you can just cut and run if you treat people badly, why would you treat anyone well? Like, those incentives are real, and I think they do transform people. Like, if you win the lottery, even if you're a wonderful, generous person, 2 years after winning the lottery, will you be that same generous person? Or will that money and freedom have transformed you into someone much more paranoid, much more like concerned about what other people want with you? Because now you don't see yourself as equal. And it's actually easier to help someone you see as at least somewhat an equal than to help someone that you think is so far below you that like they're desperate and so would do anything to take from you. And so by that process, your morality kind of decays and you become something ghoulish that's about as far from the kind of like glamorous image of traditional masculinity that so many people teach and want to aspire to that you could possibly imagine. So just in short, being rich, being free, being able to travel is great. But as an end in itself, it is not particularly, let's say, encouraging of moral development or traditionally masculine development. It's really just like pleasure seeking. And freedom is good to a point and to a particular end, but it's not really the best structure for development of like a complete human being, man or woman. So that's all.